She smiled, but the words were a punch to the gut. These are really just for family. In that moment, my 7-year-old daughter's world fractured, and mine shifted into an unrecognizable fight. The air in Susan's too-warm living room, thick with cinnamon and forced cheer, suddenly turned icy. Christmas at Susan's house was always a production, too loud, too much, the cinnamon candles trying desperately to mask the tension that always simmered just beneath the surface. My husband, Michael, was deployed overseas, 3 months in, and facing his family without him felt like walking into a battlefield completely unarmed. Susan, my mother-in-law, had always treated me with that special kind of politeness reserved for an unwanted dinner guest, just cold enough to notice, just warm enough to deny. She adored Michael, her golden child, and tolerated me as the woman who'd somehow managed to snag him. Chloe, our daughter, 7 years old, with Michael's dark hair and my green eyes, sat on the living room floor. She was surrounded by her cousins, David's 3 kids, and Jessica's 2. "Grandma has a special surprise," Susan announced, her voice dripping with theatrical excitement. She emerged from the hallway, carrying a stack of pristine white boxes, each emblazoned with that unmistakable Apple logo. The kids erupted in shrieks. I watched as she distributed the boxes. "For Ryan, because you've been working so hard in school." David's oldest beamed. "For Ava, my little artist." Jessica's daughter clutched hers to her chest. Susan continued through each grandchild, offering personalized reasons that felt rehearsed and hollow. Chloe's eyes shone with anticipation. She'd been asking for a phone for months, meticulously presenting arguments about staying in touch with Michael during his deployment. I'd told her, maybe for your birthday, but seeing her cousins receive these gifts, I could feel her hope rising. Susan handed out the 5th and final box to David's youngest. Then she turned away. "Grandma?" Chloe's small voice cut through the chaos. "Where's mine?" Susan's smile didn't waver, but something cruel flickered in her eyes. "Oh, sweetheart, these phones are very expensive. They're really just for family." The room went silent. Jessica looked down at her lap. David suddenly found his drink utterly fascinating. My blood turned to ice. "Chloe is family," I said quietly, fighting to keep my voice steady. "She's your granddaughter." Susan waved a dismissive hand. "You know what I mean. Blood family. Real family. Besides, with Michael gone so much, it's not like she really needs to stay connected to anyone here." She turned back to the other children, her voice brightening. "Now, who wants to help Grandma set up these phones?" I looked at Chloe. Tears streamed silently down her face as she watched her cousins tear into their new gifts. She understood exactly what her grandmother meant, even if the adults in the room pretended not to. David's wife, Nicole, gave me an apologetic glance, but said nothing. Jessica busied herself helping her kids with their boxes. I stood up, my legs shaking. "Chloe, get your coat." "But, Mom, now, please." Susan finally met my gaze, and her expression held no remorse, just cold satisfaction. "Don't be dramatic. The child is fine." The child had a name. The child was her son's daughter. But Susan had never truly accepted that Chloe existed, had she? Michael and I had gotten pregnant before we married. And though he proposed immediately and we built a solid life together, Susan had never forgiven me for, in her eyes, trapping her son. Never mind that Michael had been thrilled about becoming a father. Never mind that he loved Chloe more than anything in this world. I took my daughter's hand and walked out. Neither of us spoke during the drive home. Chloe stared out the window, and I let her process what had happened in her own time. But inside me, something had shifted. A line had been crossed that couldn't be uncrossed. That night, after tucking Chloe into bed and reassuring her that she was loved and valuable and absolutely part of our family, I sat at my laptop. Michael was asleep halfway across the world, and I wasn't going to burden him with this during his deployment. He had enough to worry about. But I wasn't going to let this stand. I started documenting everything. Every slight, every dismissive comment, every time Susan had forgotten to include Chloe in family photos or made pointed remarks about real grandchildren. I'd overlooked these moments before, chalked them up to Susan's difficult personality. But this was different. This was the public humiliation of a child. I emailed Michael's siblings. My message was simple: what happened today was unacceptable, and I needed to know if they were comfortable with their children receiving gifts while Chloe was deliberately excluded and told she wasn't real family. Nicole responded first. She agreed it was wrong, but didn't want to cause family drama. Jessica's response came 3 days later, a generic, "I'm sure Mom didn't mean it that way." That made my jaw clench. David called. "Look, I get that you're upset, but you're blowing this out of proportion. Mom's just old-fashioned." "Old-fashioned doesn't mean cruel," I replied. "She told your niece to her face that she's not real family. She probably just misspoke. She knew exactly what she was saying." He sighed. "What do you want me to do about it?" "I want you to stand up for your niece. I want you to tell your mother that behavior isn't acceptable." "I'll talk to her," he promised. But I could hear the resignation in his voice. He wouldn't. They never did. 2 weeks later, Susan called. "I think we should clear the air about Christmas." "I'm listening." "You overreacted. I was trying to do something nice for my grandchildren, and you made a scene." Her voice carried that edge of martyrdom she wielded so effectively. "I think you owe me an apology." Something in me snapped. "Susan, you publicly humiliated my daughter and told her she wasn't part of this family. The only person who owes anyone an apology here is you. I will not be spoken to this way in my own family." "Then I guess we won't be speaking." I hung up. Michael called 2 days later, his voice tight with frustration. "My mom says you're keeping Chloe away from her. Your mom told our daughter she's not real family. I'm protecting her from someone who treats her as less than." The silence stretched between us, distorted by distance and poor connection. She said that in front of everyone, then she tried to justify it. I heard him exhale slowly. Michael had always struggled with his mother's difficult nature, caught between loyalty to her and loyalty to us. "Let me handle this when I get home." "No. This ends now. I won't have Chloe growing up thinking she has to earn love from people who should give it freely." I paused. "Your mother made her choice. I'm making mine." Over the following weeks, I established boundaries with surgical precision. Susan wasn't invited to Chloe's school events anymore. When she called asking to take Chloe for the day, I politely declined. Easter came and went without us attending the family gathering. Susan's birthday passed without a card from us. The first major test came when Chloe's school announced their annual spring concert. She'd been selected for a solo part in the choir performance, something she'd worked toward all year. The excitement in her voice when she told me about it made my heart swell. "Can I invite everyone?" she asked, already making a mental list. "Grandma Brenda and Grandpa Robert, and maybe Grandma Susan, too?" I sat down beside her at the kitchen table. "We can definitely invite my parents. But Grandma Susan hurt your feelings at Christmas. Remember?" Her face fell slightly. "I remember. But maybe she's sorry now." "Has she told you she's sorry?" Chloe thought about it. "No. She sent me a Valentine's card with money, but she didn't say sorry." "Then we're not ready to invite her yet. When someone hurts us, they need to actually apologize before we let them back into important moments." She nodded, trying to process this adult concept. "What if she never says sorry? Then she misses out on seeing you shine. That's her loss, not yours." The concert was beautiful. Chloe's solo was perfect, her voice clear and confident. My parents beamed from their seats. I recorded every second, knowing Michael would want to watch it repeatedly when the internet connection allowed. Afterward, David's wife, Nicole, approached us in the parking lot. "Chloe, you were wonderful," she said warmly, then lowered her voice to speak to me. "Susan found out about the concert. She's upset she wasn't invited. She wasn't invited because she hasn't apologized for what she said. She thinks you're being unreasonable. She wants to know what she's supposed to apologize for." I stared at Nicole in disbelief. "She told my daughter to her face that she's not real family because we're not blood related. If she genuinely doesn't understand why that requires an apology, then she has bigger problems than missing a school concert." Nicole shifted uncomfortably. "I'm just the messenger." "Then take this message back. When Susan is ready to sincerely apologize to Chloe and commit to treating her equally, we can talk. Until then, she's not welcome at events." Nicole left looking troubled. My mother, who'd overheard the exchange, touched my arm gently. "You're doing the right thing, honey. That child deserves better than conditional love." But doubts crept in late at night. Was I being too harsh? Should I give Susan another chance for Michael's sake? I called my best friend, Emily, who'd known me since college. "Stop second-guessing yourself," she said firmly. "You saw Chloe's face at Christmas. You heard what Susan said. Would you let anyone else treat your daughter that way? No. Then why would you accept it from family? Family should be held to higher standards, not lower ones." She was right. I knew she was right. But the pressure from Michael's family continued mounting. David confronted me at the grocery store. "You're punishing the whole family because you're mad at Mom." "I'm protecting my daughter from someone who hurt her. If the rest of you choose to stand by and let that happen, that's your decision. She's an old woman set in her ways. You're being vindictive. She's old enough to know better, and I'm being a parent. There's a difference." Jessica tried a softer approach, showing up at my door with coffee. "I miss seeing Chloe. The cousins ask about her. They're always welcome here. You know where we live. But not at family gatherings. Not while Susan's there. No. You're asking us to choose between you and our mother." "I'm not asking anything. I'm telling you that my daughter will not be subjected to someone who treats her as lesser. What you do with that information is entirely up to you." She left without drinking her coffee. Michael came home in June. He'd lost weight, gained new lines around his eyes, and something in him had hardened during his time away. That first night, after Chloe had fallen asleep between us watching movies, he asked to see my documentation. I showed him everything, the emails, the messages, the timeline of events. He read in silence, his jaw working. "I need to talk to my mother." "Okay." He went alone. I waited at home with Chloe, who was carefully optimistic that Daddy could fix everything now that he was back. Children believe in the power of their parents to set things right. I envied her that faith. The hours dragged. I tried to distract myself with laundry, dishes, meal prep for the week. My phone sat silent on the counter, mocking me with its lack of updates. Finally, at nearly 11 o'clock, I heard Michael's truck in the driveway. He came through the door looking hollowed out. Not angry exactly, but devastated in a way I'd never seen. He walked past me to the kitchen, poured himself a glass of water, and stood at the sink, staring out the dark window. "Michael?" "She won't apologize." His voice was flat. "She insists she did nothing wrong. She said Chloe is too young to understand what she meant. That you're reading malice into innocent comments." There was nothing innocent about what she said. "I know." He set down the glass carefully, like it might shatter. "I told her I was there when Chloe asked about college applications last month. Remember when she asked if she could put family legacy on her applications because her dad went to state?" I nodded. Michael had been so proud, explaining how legacy admissions worked. Mom said, "Well, that's different. That's about blood relations. Schools care about genetics." He turned to face me. I didn't think anything of it at the time. It seemed like she was just explaining how legacy admissions work. But Chloe's face fell, and I didn't even notice. "You did though, didn't you?" She asked me later if it meant she couldn't use your legacy because she wasn't blood enough. I told her that wasn't how it worked, that she absolutely could use it. Mom's been doing this her whole life, making these little comments that seemed innocent on the surface, but carry so much poison underneath. He scrubbed his hands over his face. "David told me I was overreacting, too. He said, Mom's just old-fashioned about family trees and genetics. She doesn't mean anything by it." "How did you respond?" I asked him if he'd be okay with someone telling his kids they weren't real family. He said it wasn't the same thing. Michael's laugh was bitter. Then he suggested maybe we'd be happier if we just stopped coming to family events for a while. Give everyone space to cool down. So, they're freezing us out now. Apparently, Jessica called while I was driving home. She's caught in the middle and doesn't know what to do. She agrees Mom was wrong, but doesn't want to take sides. I moved closer to him. "What do you want to do?" "I want my mother to love my daughter the way she loves David's kids. I want her to see Chloe as real and valuable and worthy." His voice cracked. "But she won't. And I can't make her." So, I told her either she apologizes to both of you and commits to treating Chloe with the same love and respect she shows the other grandkids, or she doesn't see any of us. "Michael, I don't want you to lose your mother. She's choosing to lose us." "That's different." He sent the text. Susan's response came within minutes. "You're being manipulated. When you come to your senses, I'll be here." Michael stared at his phone, then set it down. "Okay, then." The weight of it settled over us in the following days. Michael went through cycles of anger, grief, and determination. He'd call his father, only to have his mother pick up and refuse to pass the phone. He'd text his siblings and receive increasingly curt responses. The family group chat that had once been full of funny memes and dinner plans went silent. Chloe sensed the tension. "Is everyone mad at us because of what Grandma said? Some people are having trouble understanding why we won't let someone hurt you and pretend it didn't happen. But you and Daddy aren't mad at me, right, baby?" "No. We could never be mad at you for this. You didn't do anything wrong. We're protecting you because that's what parents do." She hugged me tightly. "I'm glad you're my mom." Those words fortified me through the lonely months that followed. Michael threw himself into work, taking extra shifts and volunteering for projects. I focused on making our home a sanctuary where Chloe felt safe and loved. My parents stepped up, visiting more frequently and making sure Chloe knew she had grandparents who adored her unconditionally. The social isolation was harder than I'd anticipated. Our neighborhood was full of families who gathered for barbecues and block parties. People asked why Michael's family never came around. I kept the explanations vague, just some family stuff we're working through, but I could see the speculation in their eyes. One neighbor, Sharon, whose nosiness was legendary on our street, cornered me at the mailbox. "I heard Michael's mother is sick. That must be why there's tension." "Susan's not sick," I replied carefully. "Oh, so it's financial, then?" "These things usually are. It's private family business, Sharon." She pursed her lips. "Well, I just think it's sad when families can't work things out. Life's too short for grudges." I wanted to scream. People always had opinions about boundary setting when they hadn't lived through the hurt that necessitated those boundaries. Instead, I smiled politely and excused myself, but her words echoed later. Was I holding a grudge? I examined my feelings honestly. This wasn't about grudges or revenge. This was about refusing to expose my daughter to someone who diminished her worth. There was a difference, and I had to trust that difference mattered. Summer passed into fall. Susan sent gifts for Chloe's birthday. Expensive, impersonal things clearly ordered online. Michael returned them with a note, "We'll accept these when you're ready to accept our daughter as your granddaughter." David's family gradually stopped responding to invitations to visit us. Jessica came once with her kids, but the visit was strained and brief. Nicole, David's wife, sent occasional texts asking how we were, but never pushed for reconciliation. Thanksgiving arrived. We spent it with my parents, who'd always treated Chloe like the treasure she was. My mother noticed the absence of Michael's family. Is his mother still being stubborn? She is. Good for you for holding the line. Some people need to learn that love is unconditional. She squeezed my hand. Even if it costs them everything. December came, and with it, another Christmas. Susan sent a group text to her children. Christmas Eve at my house, the usual time. I hope everyone can make it. Michael responded. We'll be there when Chloe is welcomed as an equal member of this family. David replied, Dude, just let it go. It's Christmas. Jessica added, Family is more important than pride. Michael's response was swift. Exactly. Which is why Mom needs to treat her granddaughter like family. The conversation devolved into accusations and defensiveness. Susan insisted she'd done nothing wrong. David accused Michael of being controlled by me. Jessica pleaded for everyone to just move past it. The messages kept coming. Nicole chimed in, trying to play mediator. David's responses grew increasingly hostile. At one point, he wrote, Some of us understand that family means accepting people as they are, flaws and all. Not everyone can be perfect like you apparently expect. Michael typed back. Accepting someone's flaws doesn't mean accepting harm. And yes, telling a child they're not real family is deeply harmful. David, you're so dramatic. It's embarrassing. Jessica, can we please just talk about this in person? Texting isn't helping. Susan's final message ended the exchange. I will not be bullied in my own family. You're all welcome at Christmas. If certain people choose not to attend, that's their decision. Michael muted the conversation and turned to me. Are you sure about this? Once we miss another Christmas, it might be permanent. I thought about Chloe, about the resilience she'd built over the past year. She'd learned to articulate her feelings, to recognize when people's actions didn't match their words. She developed a stronger sense of self-worth because we'd shown her that her feelings mattered more than keeping the peace. I've been sure since the moment she told our daughter she wasn't real family. We spent that Christmas Eve decorating cookies and watching holiday movies. Chloe invited her best friend Grace over, and the two girls laughed themselves silly making increasingly ridiculous gingerbread creations. Grace's mother, Hannah, stayed for dinner, and we had an easy, comfortable evening, free from the tension that had marked every holiday at Susan's house. This is nice, Michael said as we cleaned up later. Quiet. Do you miss them? He considered the question. I miss the idea of them. I miss having the family I thought I had. But the reality... He shook his head. The reality was always walking on eggshells, always trying to manage Mom's moods, always making excuses for behavior that hurt people. I don't miss that. Christmas morning at our house was quieter than usual, but filled with genuine warmth. Chloe opened her gifts, including a phone we'd saved up for. Not the latest model, but one that would let her video call her dad during deployments. She cried when she opened it, not because of the phone itself, but because we'd listened to why she wanted it. For talking to Daddy, she whispered, hugging Michael. For talking to Daddy, he confirmed, his voice rough with emotion. Later that day, my father pulled me aside while my mother taught Chloe how to make her famous hot chocolate. I'm proud of you, sweetheart. Standing up to family is never easy. Sometimes I wonder if I'm making the right choice. You are. That little girl in there knows she's loved without conditions. That's worth more than anything Susan's approval could give her. He squeezed my shoulder. Your mother and I dealt with similar issues with her family when you were young. Her father never approved of me. Thought I wasn't successful enough. Didn't come from the right background. We kept trying to win him over. Kept subjecting ourselves and you kids to his criticism. I'd forgotten about my maternal grandfather's coldness. He passed when I was 12, and time had softened the memories. We wasted years trying to earn love that should have been freely given, Dad continued. Your mother finally drew the line when he made a comment about your brother's learning disability. Said some children weren't meant for college and we were setting him up for failure by encouraging his education. His eyes hardened at the memory. We stopped visiting after that. He died 5 years later, never having apologized. Your mother grieved, but she never regretted protecting you kids. I didn't know that. We didn't want you to carry that burden. But I'm telling you now, so you know you're doing the right thing. The hard thing, but the right thing. That afternoon, Nicole called. I just wanted to check on you guys. We're good. How was Christmas at Susan's? She hesitated. Tense. Mom kept making comments about ungrateful children and manipulation. David backed her up. Jessica spent most of the time trying to keep the peace. It wasn't fun. I'm sorry. Don't be. You're right, you know. About all of it. I've been thinking about some things Mom said to my kids over the years. Little comments about Emily being too loud or Tyler being too sensitive. I always brushed it off, but she trailed off. Maybe I shouldn't have. It's hard to see clearly when you're in the middle of it. Yeah. Another pause. For what it's worth, I told Mom she was wrong about Chloe, about what she said. David didn't like it. Thank you for saying something. I should have said it sooner. 3 months into the new year, Michael received orders for another deployment. For months this time, standard rotation, but the timing was terrible. Chloe was struggling in math and needed extra support, and I just started a new job that required my full attention. The night before he left, Susan called him. I heard his side of the conversation from the kitchen. No, Mom, that won't work for us. A pause. Because nothing has changed. You still haven't apologized to Chloe or acknowledged that what you did was hurtful. Another pause, longer this time. That's your choice, but it doesn't change mine. My daughter deserves better. He hung up looking exhausted. She wanted to take Chloe while I'm gone, to help you out. Like we just forget everything because it's convenient for her. What did you tell her? That we have support from people who actually care about Chloe, not just about having access to her. He deployed the next morning. Chloe and I settled into our routine. School, homework, dinner, video calls with Michael when the time zones aligned. My parents came over weekly to help. My best friend, Emily, took Chloe for playdates so I could focus on work. We built a network of people who genuinely loved and supported us. One afternoon, I ran into Susan at the pharmacy. How's Chloe? She asked. She's doing well. Getting good grades, excited about her soccer season. And Michael? He's safe. Due home in a few weeks. She clutched her purse tighter. This has gone on long enough. I want to see my granddaughter. She has a name. And you're welcome to see her anytime you're ready to apologize for what you said and treat her with the same love you show your other grandchildren. I already told you I didn't mean anything by it. Then apologize. Her face hardened. I won't be manipulated into apologizing for something I didn't do. Then I guess we're done here. I turned to leave. You're destroying this family. I looked back at her. No, Susan. You did that the moment you told a 7-year-old child she wasn't real family. I'm just refusing to expose her to any more of your cruelty. I walked away. My hands were shaking, but I didn't regret a word. Michael came home 4 months later in early summer. Chloe launched herself at him at the airport, and watching them together reminded me why this had all been worth it. He was a good father. He deserved a mother who could be a good grandmother. But failing that, he deserved to protect his child from hurt. Life continued. Birthdays, holidays, ordinary days. We built traditions that didn't include Susan. Chloe asked about her grandmother occasionally, but less as time went on. She had my parents who showed her unconditional love. She had friends and teachers and coaches who valued her. She had parents who would move mountains to keep her safe. About 18 months after that devastating Christmas, David called Michael. Dad had a heart attack. He's okay, but it was close. Is he in the hospital? Yeah, Mom's a mess. Michael looked at me. I nodded. Go see your father. I'll stay with Chloe. He went to the hospital alone. When he returned that evening, he was quiet. How is he recovering? The doctors say he should be fine with some lifestyle changes. He sat down heavily. Mom tried to use it as leverage. Said life's too short to hold grudges. That Dad would want us to reconcile. What did you say? I said Dad would want his granddaughter to be treated with dignity and respect. And until that happens, nothing changes. David called me the next day. You're really going to keep this going even after Dad almost died? Your father's health crisis doesn't erase what your mother did to Chloe. If Susan wants reconciliation, she knows what she needs to do. You're heartless. I'm a mother protecting her child. If you can't understand that, then we have nothing else to discuss. He hung up on me. Michael's father recovered fully. We sent flowers to the hospital with a card from all 3 of us. Susan called it cold and calculated. I called it appropriate boundaries. More months passed. Chloe turned 9. She'd grown taller, more confident. She rarely mentioned her grandmother anymore. And when she did, it was matter of fact. Some people don't know how to love, right? That's sad for them, she told me once. She'd learned a harder lesson than I'd wanted her to learn so young, but she'd learned it with her self-worth intact. That was what mattered. On a Tuesday in October, Jessica showed up at our door unannounced. Can we talk? I let her in. She looked tired, older than her years. I need to tell you something, and I need you to just listen. She took a deep breath. Mom told Olivia last week that she couldn't come to Christmas dinner because she's been gaining weight and it's embarrassing. Olivia is 12. I found her crying in her room, refusing to eat. Olivia was Jessica's oldest daughter. Sweet, artistic Olivia, who'd always been a little rounder than her cousins. Jessica, I'm so sorry. I finally saw it. Really saw it. The way Mom ranks us all, decides who's worthy of her approval and who isn't. She did it to me growing up, too. I just normalized it. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I've been so angry at you for keeping Chloe away, but you were right. You were protecting her. What are you going to do? I already did it. I told Mom that Olivia and Sophia won't be coming to family events until she gets therapy and learns how to treat children with unconditional love. David thinks I'm being dramatic. Nicole is staying neutral, but I'm done watching my daughters absorb the message that their worth is conditional. I hugged her while she cried. I know how hard this is. I wasted 2 years defending her. 2 years my kids could have spent with their cousin. They can make up for it now. She pulled back, wiping her eyes. Would you be open to that? To letting the cousins spend time together again? Of course. They're welcome here anytime. We started having regular cousin days after that. Chloe, Olivia, and Sophia bonded over art projects and movies. Jessica and I rebuilt a friendship that had been strained by impossible loyalty tests. Nicole eventually joined us, too, bringing Tyler and Emily. David kept his distance, still firmly in Susan's camp. Christmas that year was beautiful. All the cousins together at our house, making cookies and watching holiday movies. Michael played Santa, and my father read stories by the fireplace. Jessica caught my eye across the room and mouthed, "Thank you." Susan learned about our gathering from David. She called Michael in a fury. "You're poisoning my children against me." "No, Mom. You did that yourself by treating your grandchildren as worthy or unworthy based on arbitrary standards. I have always loved my grandchildren. You've loved the ones who met your expectations. The others you dismissed or criticized." Jessica finally saw it. Nicole is seeing it. Maybe one day David will, too. If you don't stop this, I'll never forgive you. I can live with that if it means my daughter grows up knowing her worth isn't dependent on someone else's approval. She hung up. Michael stood there holding his phone, looking somehow lighter. "How do you feel?" I asked. "Free." He smiled sadly. "I spent my whole life trying to be good enough for her. I don't want that for Chloe. She won't have to. I promise." January brought Michael's promotion and a transfer to a base closer to my parents. We'd be moving in the spring. Jessica was sad but supportive. Nicole promised to visit often. David sent a curt text, "Guess you got what you wanted." Susan sent nothing. Moving day arrived in April. My parents helped us load the truck while the kids ran around, marking boxes for their rooms. Jessica came with coffee and donuts, staying until the last box was loaded. "I'm going to miss having you close," she admitted. "It's only a 3-hour drive, and you're always welcome to visit." "I will." Olivia's already planning a summer trip. She hugged me tight. "Thank you for showing me what boundaries look like. For teaching me it's okay to protect your kids, even from family. You would have figured it out. Maybe, but you made it easier by going first." We settled into our new home, our new life. Chloe thrived in her new school. Michael excelled in his new position. I found a job I loved and friends who became family. We built something good and healthy and whole. 2 years after that second Christmas, Nicole called with news. "David and I are separating. Mom apparently told me I was too lenient with the kids and offered to take over their discipline. I finally had enough." "How are the kids?" "Confused. Hurt. David's still defending Mom, saying I'm overreacting." "That's familiar." I asked Jessica for your number. I wanted advice on setting boundaries with Mom. "You can call anytime." We talked for 2 hours about boundaries, about protecting children, about the guilt that comes with limiting contact with family. She cried when she told me about Ryan asking why Grandma always had something critical to say. "I thought I was being too sensitive," she admitted. But then I heard her tell Ava she'd never be pretty if she didn't lose weight. Ava is 10. "You're not being too sensitive. You're being a mother." She established boundaries after that. David was furious, but Nicole held firm. The kids started coming to our cousin gatherings via video chat, and eventually, Nicole brought them in person. Chloe welcomed her cousins with the generosity of a child who'd learned empathy from being excluded. Susan's kingdom had crumbled. Jessica's family kept their distance. Nicole's family visited for major holidays only, with clear boundaries about acceptable behavior. After the separation, Nicole established firm boundaries. David remained loyal to his mother, but increasingly isolated. I felt no satisfaction in Susan's loneliness. I'd never wanted this outcome. I'd simply refused to sacrifice my daughter's emotional well-being for the appearance of family harmony. Last month, Susan was diagnosed with cancer. Treatable, the doctor said, but she'd need support during treatment. David called Michael. She's asking to see Chloe. She says she wants to make amends before it's too late. Michael looked at me. I looked at Chloe, now 11, strong and secure in who she was. What do you think? I asked her. Chloe considered it carefully. Will she be mean to me? I don't know, baby. She says she wants to apologize. But you don't believe her? I don't know what to believe. She thought some more. Can I write her a letter first? Tell her how I feel. That's a great idea. Chloe wrote the letter over several days, carefully explaining how her grandmother's words had hurt her, how she'd felt excluded and unworthy. She wrote about building a life with people who loved her unconditionally. She ended it with, "If you want to be in my life now, you have to promise to be kind, not just to me, but to all my cousins. Because we're all real family and we all deserve respect." Michael delivered the letter. Susan read it with tears streaming down her face. I never meant to hurt her, she told Michael. But you did. And you spent 3 years refusing to acknowledge it. I was proud. I thought. She trailed off. I thought I could outlast your stubbornness. I thought you'd eventually realize you needed me. We built a life without you. Chloe grew up surrounded by people who loved her exactly as she is. She doesn't need you, Mom, but she's willing to let you in if you can genuinely change. Susan asked for time to think. A week later, she called and asked to meet with Chloe and me together. Michael came, a united front. We met at a neutral location, a quiet park. Susan looked frail, diminished by illness and isolation. When she saw Chloe, something in her face crumpled. I'm so sorry, she said, her voice wavering. I'm sorry for what I said to you. I'm sorry for making you feel like you weren't part of this family. I was wrong and cruel, and I've spent 3 years paying the price for my pride. Chloe listened quietly. Why did you say it? Because I was angry at your mother for reasons that had nothing to do with you, and I took it out on you. That was unforgivable. Do you still think I'm not real family? No. Susan's voice was firm. You are absolutely real family. You're my granddaughter, and I should have treasured you from the beginning. What about Olivia and Sophia and the others? Will you be nice to them, too? I'm working on that. I've apologized to Jessica and Nicole. I'm in therapy learning about the damage I've done. She looked at me. Your mother was right to protect you from me. I hope someday I can prove I've changed enough to be in your life. Chloe looked at me, then at Michael. Can we try? Like, see each other sometimes and see if she really means it. If that's what you want, sweetheart, I said. I want a grandma who's nice. If she can be that, then yes. We started slowly. Supervised visits, short and structured. Susan was on her best behavior, careful with her words, generous with praise. She asked about Chloe's interests and actually listened. She showed up to a soccer game and cheered without criticism. Months passed. The visits continued. Susan completed therapy and began making amends with her other grandchildren. David remained skeptical, but eventually thawed. Jessica cautiously allowed more contact. Nicole took longest to trust, but eventually brought her kids around. I never forgot what Susan had done. Trust, once shattered, is rebuilt in fragments, slowly and painfully. But I watched my daughter interact with her grandmother and saw something healing take place. Not erasing the past, but building something different for the future. Susan asked me once why I'd stood so firm for so long. Because Chloe needed to know her worth wasn't negotiable, I told her. Because some lessons are too important to compromise on, even when it costs everything. She nodded slowly. I lost years with my granddaughter because I couldn't swallow my pride for 5 minutes. You lost more than that. You lost the chance to know the incredible child she was at 7, 8, 9, 10. Those years don't come back. I know. She looked at me with something like respect. You were right to keep her away from me. I hope you can forgive me someday. I'm working on it. For Chloe's sake, I'm trying. Today, Chloe is 12. She video chats with her grandmother weekly, visits monthly, and maintains careful boundaries. She knows her worth. She knows love shouldn't hurt. She knows when to protect herself and when to offer grace. Susan sent her an iPhone for Christmas this year. Top of the line, just like her cousins received. Chloe thanked her politely, but used it mainly to call her grandfather and text her cousins. It's nice, she told me. But it's just a phone. What matters is that Grandma is finally being kind. She'd learned the most important lesson. Love without respect is worthless. Boundaries are healthy, and forgiveness is possible but never required. Standing firm cost us years of family gatherings, relationships with extended family, the illusion of harmony. But it gave me something more valuable, the unshakable knowledge that she is worthy of love, respect, and protection always and without exception. That was worth everything. Have you ever had to choose between family peace and protecting your child?